Sally Kirkland, thank you so much for rolling with Olin. I cannot even tell you how happy I am to have you here. Sally Kirkland, for my audience, Hollywood royalty at its best. An Oscar-nominated actress, a Golden Globe winner. We'll get into all that. Let's just start with saying hello, Sally.
Hi there.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thanks, Jeff.
I mean,
Pleasure.
I'm thrilled. First of all, let's start out from way back, and we're gonna go back to when you were 10 years old,
Okay.
and you had an accident,
Right.
and you went deaf
Right on my left ear.
in your left ear. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I was a swimmer, and we did a lot of competitions when I was 10, and diving, and I went running off the diving board, and I tripped and fell in the pool, and my head hit the cement, and my body went in the water. So I had a head concussion, and I was in a coma for, I don't know, a week or something. And when I came out of it, I couldn't hear in my left ear. So I'd gone through life telling film directors, shoot me on the front or the right. I won't hear a thing if the actor talks to me on the left, you know.
Yeah. But you're okay. Here
Yeah.
you are, and you've gotten through it, and a storybook career. In starting so young. I want to just jump a little bit here. Well, first of all, talk about your mom a little bit. Your parents. Your mom was a fashion editor for Life magazine. For anybody that doesn't know,
Vogue magazine.
and Vogue magazine.
Yeah.
Incredible. And then you started. Can you give us a little background on?
Well,
on
my
that?
mom was quite famous in the fashion industry. She was part of something called the Fashion Group. Her and a woman named Eugenia Shepard, and another woman who was Harper's Bazaar. I can't remember her name. And so they ruled in the fashion industry. And her name was Sally Kirkland also, her byline. And so I was Sally Kirkland Jr. And she trotted me out on the runway when I was a young kid as a model. And so I got used to being on camera and whatnot when I was, a young teenager. And then I never wanted to go to college, so I went through high school, was president of the drama club. And when I was 18, I did my first movie. Maybe you know. I can't remember the name, but I know I was like 18, 19. And so I did a lot of theater in New York, 10 years of off-Broadway and off-Broadway and whatnot. I remember doing a play with Sam Waterston called Fitz and Biscuit. And I played Jackie Kennedy, and he played Kennedy. And the play was about, we did it in Panama. The play was about when Jackie tried to jump off the boat. She didn't want to be alive to share Jack with the world.
Yeah.
And have a nervous breakdown. And I got famous doing a play called Sweet Arrows by Terrence McNally. And I was nude for 45 minutes, which was unheard of. No
Which
one
was
ever did
unheard
that.
of. And that I was going to ask you about that. But before that, if we
Yeah.
go back just a little bit, at 18 years old, you met Golden Age Hollywood producer David Ozelznick.
Consultant, yeah.
And at 18, and what did he tell you at 18? Do you remember what he
He
told
saw me act, and he said, "You're brilliant, but you're not going to make it as a young person because you're 5'9", and you're too smart. Men are going to get intimidated. So I say you're going to be a star when you're middle-aged." And I say, middle-aged? I'm only 18, Dave. I got to wait till I'm middle-aged. But I always remember that, and I was 44 when I did Anna, and of course they said I was an overnight success, and I wasn't. But he was right in the sense of really getting the country's or the world's attention.
Yeah. Well, I always say an overnight success story is at least 10 years.
25.
25 years, yeah, whatever. So, I mean, anybody who's in the business, they really have to, settle down, be comfortable, and go for it. Because it takes time. And, but you can do it. Obviously, you can't. You also did a lot of theater. You did over 60 off-Broadway shows. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, what? You were not sleeping. And what was going on with you?
I was, what's the word?
Ambitious?
I was going to say determined.
Determined, yeah.
I really didn't get married when I was young. I did get married. I got married in the 70s and then the 80s. But they didn't last. One was 3 months and the other was 2 years, I think. And so I didn't put any energy into like having kids or being married for a long time. It was just all about my career.
Yeah.
And so I would, in many ways, that was selfish, I guess, because I didn't take time for a normal life. But I did act all the time for 64 years.
Yeah. Well, you've been acting. You were, like I said, you did all that off Broadway, but before that, you studied with the famous Lee Strasberg and Uta Hagen as well.
Uta Hagen
but
first.
Uta Hagen first, and then Lee Strasberg
For 20 years.
For 20 years. I mean, that's incredible in
And
itself.
then I taught for Lee Strasberg. And I taught Sandra Bullock before anyone knew Sandra Bullock. And I coached Liza Minnelli and Barbara Streisand. And I taught over 1,000 people acting in one way or another.
But you did that also. You were in that much later. You also did that at the Actors Studio.
Yeah, and the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute. I taught 2 or 3 times a week. And this is the first couple of years I haven't been coaching. I pretty much have taught and coached my entire adult life, but I haven't done it in the last couple of years. I'm not quite sure why. But I love teaching.
Yeah.
I do emotional recall, personalization, as if all these method acting modalities to bring stuff out of actors. I remember going to Barbara Streisand's house in Bel Air, and we were doing Romeo and Juliet, some scenes at the Actors Studio, and I was the nurse, she was Juliet, and I said, Barbara, when you cry, you know, thinking about Romeo, I want you to use your father who died when you were 6 years old. And so we're going to do emotional recall. And I said, close your eyes, go back to when you were with him and how much you loved him and how sad you were when you passed over. And she did it. And pretty soon the tears were coming down. And I said, so that's what you're going to use when we do the scenes at the Actors Studio. People were lined up around DeLongpre and Sweetser to see Barbara act at the Actors Studio. You can't believe West Hollywood was pandemonium.
You let us see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, but that's been your whole life as far as teaching.
Yeah.
And the acting that you've done and the movies that you've been in and the TV series that you've done, which go on and on and on. I don't want to jump ahead too much because you and I did discuss prior to talking about a couple of things. We talked about a survivor. How much of a survivor you are in Hollywood. You were in New York first, then in Hollywood, and you and I had talked about an incident when you were in love with Rip Torn. Can you tell the story about that lost love, or whatever you might call it, and what had happened with your suicidal tendencies?
Yeah, I think I was 23. I lived in, it was in New York, and I was in love with Rip Torn, and he was really my first love, major love. And he told me he was legally separated, but he wasn't. And of course, I idolized Geraldine Page as an actor, and so in many ways it was incestuous because we were all at the Actors Studio. And when it broke up, his wife was having twins or something in the hospital. Oh my God. I had like a nervous breakdown, and I didn't want to live. And so I took a whole bottle of Nebutol and my mother's supply for the summer in Paris, and another bottle of codeine. And I went out and sat on the 13th story ledge of the back elevator of her building and waited to get stoned enough to fall 13 flights. But the back elevator man saw the window open and looked out and saw me. Miss Kirkland, what are you doing? And immediately dragged me back in. And I ran down the 13 flights of stairs and outside the building, and ran up to the Guggenheim Museum, which is a block away, hid in the bushes. And I watched everybody in my building scurrying up the street looking for me. And I ran to 87th Street because my friend Sandy had a building there. I knew I could hide behind the garbage cans in the alley. And I didn't make it. I passed out in front of Jackie Kennedy's building on Fifth Avenue. I remember all the doormen just sitting there, looking at me on the ground, not doing anything, only in New York. And these 2 ships, priest and doctor, were on an outpass to go to the Guggenheim. they found me on the street, and the priest said last rites, and the doctor pronounced me dead because my heart had stopped, my lungs had stopped. And they just as an afterthought, they got me to the Metropolitan Hospital in Harlem, and somehow I was revived. Sort of an amazing story. The doctor said it was amazing. Wasn't vegetable, wasn't brain dead. And my parents were looking all over. They didn't know where I was. I had a friend named Betty Bennett, and she dreamed that I tried to kill myself. And she called Andre Gregory, who was directing me in a play. He said, I heard she had a nervous breakdown. And Betty went looking for me in all the hospitals, and she found me, and they said no one is allowed to see her. She climbed up the fire escape and at night, and she came in, and she screamed at me, you can't die, you know, everybody loves you. And so when I was revived that morning, the next morning, the doctor said, who is Betty? And I couldn't talk because I had a tracheotomy. So I wrote on a piece of paper, she loves me more than anybody. And so she saved my life, really.
She saved your life.
Yeah.
And I mean, just hearing that it's heartbreaking that you were going through so much at that time.
Over a man.
Over a man.
Yeah.
But you got over it. And you
got
continued on, as you continuously do.
Yeah.
And you're a survivor, and I know nowadays you talk to others and you help in so many ways. Okay, so now going forward a little bit, we were just talking about it briefly. In 1968, you became the first nude actress in American history. What was that all about? What were you thinking when that was all going on?
I did a
And that
play-
was in, let's see, I have it.
1968.
Sweet Arrows
Yeah.
was the
Terrence
project?
McDowell,
Mm-hmm.
Pulitzer Prize winner. I think I did Where's Tommy Flowers Gone first, I think. And my to-be friend, Tom Horgan, was, I had done a number of plays with the Lamama troupe, and we had tried out nudity behind a veil in Tom Paine off Broadway. And he was about to direct Hair, and I decided to beat him to the quick, you know. So I did Sweet Arrows before Hair and became the first nude actress in American theater. And all the critics went crazy, but they gave me good marks, I guess because my body was kind of innocent in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I if I was huge, and they probably would have said this is a little bit much, but apparently I did good. And Terrence wrote Where's Tommy Flowers Gone for me and Robert Dreyfuss, and that ran for a year. And I just loved Terrence McNally, and I was so honored that he wrote for me. And yeah, I had a great career off Broadway. Some critic called me the Helen Hayes of off Broadway,
Yeah,
which was nice.
yeah. And over 60 plays. I mean,
Yeah.
you had to be like setting lines for plays constantly. Like 60
Maybe.
plays in what, maybe 10 years?
Actually, I didn't know when she said that. I didn't know that many. That's amazing.
Over 60. Over 60. That means, you know, you went from one to another, or maybe you were even studying, maybe you did
On
2
Broadway,
plays
I
at a
did
time.
bit parts, small parts. I can't remember the name of the Broadway shows. There were two. One was starred in by Julie Harris.
Mhm.
Can't remember. But yeah, since I was like 12 years old, I've always wanted to be an actress. I didn't want to go to college or anything like that. So it just, I haven't stopped since I was 18. I'm lucky because people want me to act, and they hire me, but I really never went off track.
Yeah.
I never really stayed in a marriage. I didn't have a baby. It was just all, ta-da.
Yeah. But you kept going, kept going. You know, one thing I want to talk about right now, we see that you have a cast out. What did you do to yourself?
I fell on my wrist.
You just fell.
Yeah, I fell right. Yeah. This will come off on the 22nd.
The 20 seconds, so not so far. Well, we wish you quick healing with that, because I know you've had, you know, various things over the years, broken bones, this and that, what have you. We talk about, you know, you being a survivor. It's just amazing. I mean, just, you know, I've known you for a little bit, but reading up on you, like I said, it would take 2 weeks just to interview you. But I'm just having a ball right now, just hearing your stories. So you did all that in New York, and then you kind of followed somebody out here. I'm not going to get into that yet, but you kind of followed somebody out to L.A. Another love story. So when you were Bob, but we don't want to get into that right yet because we came out to Los Angeles. We will get into that story, but you came out to Los Angeles.
And Bob moved to Los Angeles.
Because Bob, we won't mention who Bob is just yet, although people probably know who are watching. But you came out to Los Angeles. You had an incredible year, 1973. This is an incredible year. I want to hear the two stories. First of all, you did The Way We Were. The Way We Were with Barbara Streisand and Robert Redford. You played, Pony Dunbar. Pony Dunbar. Unbelievable. I love that movie. I love the songs of the movie. Tell me about your experience with that.
Well, there's a very famous casting director. I don't know if she's still alive. Marion Dougherty. Marion Dougherty was queen of the New York casting in that year. And she put me in both films. Actually, Redford put in a word for me in this thing. He knew me. We double dated, me with Danny Selznick and him with Lola, his wife. And I've always felt that Redford jump-started my career. The Way We Were, I met Barbara, and it was instant love. And I don't know, we were walking together, and both of our earrings fell off in some way, and she says, I like you, you're a klutz, just like me. And we became friends, and then she okayed me being a star for him. And then I told you we did the Romeo and Juliet thing at the studio, so I had my Barbara chat her, and she talks about me in her book, and I got a nice paragraph for you.
Who doesn't talk about you in their books? Everybody talks about you. But you were close with Barbara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she wanted to learn how to cry on cue, so I told you the story about I had her talk about her father. The tears came. I love Barbara. Anyone who's ever said she's difficult is full of shit. Mm-hmm. She's so nice and so generous with her acting and her being. I love Barbara. In many ways, she and Redford really jump-started my career.
Jump-started. And so you did The Way We Were, and then after that, the same year, you did Sting.
The Sting, right.
The
Sting. I played Crystal.
Crystal.
The stripper, girlfriend of Redford. And I was doing the rehearsal, and I was doing my shimmy. Redford was off stage with his bouquet of flowers and champagne or something. And at the break after rehearsal with the choreographer, he came over and he looked at the ground and he said, where'd you learn how to do that? And I said, well, I was a twister at the Peppermint Lounge when I was like 18, 19. And they threw $50 bills at my feet, the mafia, because I was such a good, sexy dancer. And Redford just shook his head and he said, amazing. And so the Sting brought me to L.A. I had done parts of The Way We Were in New York and part in L.A. But the Sting, they flew me out here and Hollywood called. And
how great. Was that, you had to be pitching yourself at that point in time.
Yeah, because there's a story with that, because I had become a yogi when I was 29, which I think I was when I did those movies. And I was in the Smoky Mountains with my then guru, Baba Das. And I decided to quit acting and just be a yogi,
Mm-hmm.
and a yoga teacher. And so I didn't answer my phone or anything for weeks. And my mother finally got a hold of me, I'm not sure how, and she said, your agent's going crazy trying to find me. And I said, oh, Mom, I don't want to be an actor anymore. I'm going to be a yoga teacher and a yogi. And she said, Sally, my agent, Gary Leverton, said, we've been waiting 10 years for this. Don't do this to me. You can quit after these 2 movies. And I said, oh, Gary, come on, I don't want to act anymore. So filled with ego and rejection. But anyway, I showed up to do The Way We Were in the Sting. And then I wanted to quit. And I told my agent I was going to quit. And but that didn't happen because I think I got some roles immediately.
You did. You got several roles, and then some roles, and then some roles, and then some roles. Now, well, let's get into this Bob guy. This little known musician. I'm joking, of course, but Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan and you had an on and off, 30-year relationship.
Yeah.
You followed him out here to from New York to Los Angeles. What do you remember about
I
that?
met him when I was 22 and he was 22. Not that he would remember that because he was with Joan Baez and it was backstage of the famous on 50th Street in New York. Darn, famous. Anyway, and a famous concert with him and Joan Baez, and I met him on a receiving line, and in my head it was like later for you, you know. I just got total hit, and so then we actually got together in 1975, and that was like my end all obsession, having met him when he was 22, when I was 22. And so we had an affair, and then he got married, I got married, whatever, we went our separate ways, and then we got together again in the 80s, and then he went his way, we got together again in the 90s. But I haven't seen him in some years now. I send him messages, but I don't get, or I sent him a Valentine's message Wednesday. Will you be my Valentine? Sally Kirkland.
I think you said you heard from him about a year ago.
Yeah, it's just a message.
Yeah.
Oh.
But still.
And he dated my friend Lady Kazan, and so I would hear what's going on through her. But Bob Dylan was definitely the love of my life. Nothing has compared to that.
You once said he and Robert De Niro, another guy that you had dated for a short time, were the best kissers you ever had.
You did your homework.
A little bit.
They were the best kissers. Yeah.
Still to this day, you stand to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You dated Robert for about a year?
On and off, yeah. I met him and he was dating my roommate, Susan Terrell, at the time. And she said to me one day, oh, I don't want to go out with him. I only like black men. And I said, oh, can I go out with him? And she said, sure. You know, so he showed up with flowers and everything. And I said, Bobby, do you mind going out with me? He said, Susu. And he said, sure. So we became very close, 1967 or 68. I introduced him to Shelley Winters and Margaret Corman, Thus Came Bloody Mama.
Mm.
And he and I did a play Shelley wrote called One Night Stands with a Noisy Passenger out Broadway. And I had been having an affair with Rip, and Geraldine Page was mad. So she led an actor's strike right outside the Actors Playhouse in New York. So we had to close after a week. Thank you, Geraldine Page. Oh, my God.
Yeah, but just the history. I mean, this just, I can't even tell you how enjoyable this is just talking to you about the Hollywood history, because, you know, maybe a young kid in Indiana growing up and, coming out to Hollywood and trying to make it as an actor and as a casting director and a producer and a podcaster and this and that. But these are stories that are just glorious, wonderful stories. You mentioned Shelley Winters. Can you tell us the connection and the relationship you had with her?
Yeah, I was the youngest person they ever took from the Actors Studio. I was 18. And Shelley, of course, was, a mainstay of the Actors Studio and a moderator sometimes. And she saw me in her play, Days of the Dancing, and she took me under her wing. And she said, I think you're an amazing actress, and I'm going to teach you. And so she taught me method acting, along with Lee Strasberg. And then she put me in her play, like I said. And then later she wrote the play for me and De Niro, One Night Stands. And so her daughter didn't want her to be an actor. And she always wanted to have a kid who loved her acting. And so she adopted me. And I always called her my godmother because my mother was too busy with Life magazine to deal with me. So I lived with Shelley a lot in New York and in her guest room out here in Doheny, Oakhurst. And she taught me so much. She taught me so much about less is more. Mm-hmm. When they think they're going to laugh, make them cry. When they think they're going to cry, make them laugh. That was all Shelley. And I remember when I got nominated, she was so proud of me. And she said, no, look, don't be like me. Be like Grace Kelly. Be really your East Coast WASP background. She really wanted me to be like Grace Kelly. And I think I'm probably more like Shelley, but, Yeah.
No, I was going to ask you that. Like, what goes through an actor's mind or an actress's mind when you are getting advice from somebody who you've looked up to, or you're getting advice from just anybody to try to go out and get that next gig? A lot of stuff has to go through your mind.
Yeah, I'm thinking of De Niro. He used to say to me, don't come in with too much information. They want to paint the canvas themselves. And you're casting director, you would know. But when you walk into the room and the producer, the director, casting director are there, let them paint you. Don't give them too much information because your personality is so strong. It may not be the character. But what do you think about that?
No, I agree. I agree. I think if you come in blazing, sometimes it's not good. You know, let them like sit back, like do your thing, go to your audition. You know, nowadays obviously, you know, you're doing an audition at home, so it's not as it's not the same. Let's put it that way. But I think, you know, let them kind of look at you and see where they're going because they're the creative ones, knowing, you know, especially if it's a director, knowing where that director wants to go with you. So I think that advice from De Niro to you is, you know, it's good advice for any actor.
Right on.
You know, I definitely think so. So let's advance a little bit now. We talk about, you know, what Shelley Winters told you when you got your award. Well, let's talk about that award. In 1987. 1987, you did the movie Anna, and it wasn't a big movie at the time. I think it was $1 million budget or something.
Les, my name is Alan Okolda. I come from Prague, Czechoslovakia. Listen, I don't want to talk about my personal life. 25 years I've been acting. Just give me the script. It was Anna, yeah, it was 350 up front and 350 at the back end, so 700,000 to make the film. And my then manager Richard Rosenwald called me and said, "Can you do a Polish accent?" And I said, "How much time do I have?" And he said 2 weeks, and I said, "Okay, tell him yes." And I studied Meryl in Sophie's Choice, and then he called and said they've changed it to Czechoslovakian. I said, "Okay, no problem." And
You studied Meryl Streep,
yeah,
and Sophie's Choice,
yeah,
to get the accent for your accent for Anna.
yeah.
Unbelievable. Go on. That's cool.
I also got a book that showed you the phonetics, you know, so then on the script, I copied the phonetics, you know, what the vowels sounded like in Czech. So he said 2 weeks, and for some reason, the director, he was pissed off at me because I did a scene at the Actors Studio and De Niro and Pacino were there, and everybody rooted for me, but he didn't think it was nice of me to do his movie at the Actors Studio before he did it. And so he was against hiring me, because Caroline Thomas or Caroline somebody was the casting director, and either Caroline Sinclair or Caroline Thomas, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And so then on the third audition, he got past his resistance to me because Paulina fell in love with me, and he wanted Paulina, and he had a crush on her. So he asked Paulina if she wanted to act with me, and she said, "Oh yes, could I?" So Paulina really got me the part. Now, Yorick, if you're in Poland, maybe that's not the way it went down. But,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. But it went down, and it went down because you did Anna. You played that role exceptional because you got an Oscar nomination for it, and you won the Golden Globe for it, and you got the LA Critics' Choice Award, and you got Independent Spirit Award. An incredible, honor of all of that for the movie Anna, which was less than $1 million to make. But the character that you put together, and first of all, congratulations on all that. I mean,
thank you.
Where you keep your Golden Globe?
On a glass table in front of the window to my patio.
Love it.
It's a little hidden now because I got all these flowers, but I had it there. I also had a great publicist, Bill Wilson, who was legendary, and he made sure everybody knew what Eva said. It's on every radio show and every TV talk show. I really campaigned. And like I said to you earlier, Jenna Rowlands said I voted for you for the Oscar because of your campaign.
Yes.
I didn't see the movie. Forgive me. That's okay, Jenna. You're Jenna Rowlands.
Yeah. Well, as I told you earlier, I'm gonna do what I can to get you and Jenna. Because I know Jenna, I know you. I'm gonna try to get you guys together. It would be really fabulous.
Wouldn't it be great if we acted together?
Oh my God! Look, I love to produce that one.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Let's look forward to it.
I'll visualize that.
Let's do it. We'll get a script. We'll get somebody. Let's do it. Any script writers out there, contact me. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'll get the stars.
Okay.
I mean, you are. So you have worked with the kings and queens of Hollywood beyond. I'm going to just go down memory lane for a second and just mention a couple of people to you. We've already talked about Robert De Niro, Andy Warhol.
Andy. I was thinking about him yesterday. He was friends with my mom. He had a crush on my mother. My mother put him in the pages of life with his drawings.
Again, like Lindsay.
Wow, my God. And my mother was senior editor and fashion editor. Andy knew my mother, and they used to go to Studio 54 together and all. He had a crush on her. And I think she introduced me to him back in, they knew each other from the 50s, but she introduced me to him in the 60s. I don't remember the circumstance, but I became one of his 13 most beautiful women.
Mm-hmm.
Baby Jane Holzer. I don't know if Edie Sedgwick was one, but if it's during that time with Edie Sedgwick.
He was in the factory, right? He had a was it a club?
It was a big studio with, no, it wasn't a club. It was a big studio with silver foil paper, what do you call it?
Over the windows?
On the walls.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it was all silver.
Beautiful.
And you walked in, it was this big loft, and you were surrounded by silver. And Andy said to me, for the 13 most beautiful woman, and his right-hand man, Jerry Malaga, he said, don't move, just sit there. Don't do anything. I said, but I'm a Lee Strasberg trained actor. Surely I got to do something with you. He said, no, I just want you to sit there and don't move. So I sat there, and I did an emotional recall, and the tears came up in my eyes. And I did do something, but I was cheating, I acted without moving. And Andy, he was great. He was very painfully shy. I remember when Paulina and he had been shot, and he had a huge scar down his chest. He showed me. When Paulina and I did Anna, and I called him up and I said, got to get the Oscar nomination, got to get it. Will you put me on your MTV show? He said, sure. He said, but I don't want to be on it myself. I want you and Paulina to interview each other, and then I'll walk through the two of you. So we did that. It became my first publicity for Anna. And Andy, in many ways, he was my first director, because 13 Most Beautiful Women was so early on.
He was an eclectic guy, right? Very eclectic.
Yeah.
Electric, everything about it.
Eclectic.
Yeah, eclectic.
He loved to observe people. He wasn't very loquacious. He didn't talk a lot. He just watched people. I was really lucky to be around at that time. And like I said, my mother and him were close friends. And when he got shot by Solanas, the woman of Solanas, like your assistant, Celine Salon. Producer. But Andy, in many ways, he made me a superstar, like he had, Edie and Baby Jane Holzer and all these people. And so I had my Andy off-Broadway life, and then I had my Screen Actors Guild off-Broadway, or equity off-Broadway life, and eventually film. And it was a real pleasure knowing Andy. Like I said, he had a crush on my mother.
Yeah. Well, you've done a lot of poetry and stuff like that. Did you learn any of that from him? Because he being an artist and a poet and what have you, all the time you spent with him must have been so incredible.
I didn't learn it from him, from Bob. I was always hooked on Bob Dylan from the age of 22, so I began doing rhyme. Everything had to be in rhyme. I would write out the alphabet, and then I would pick words that would rhyme. And actually, one time I wrote Bob Dylan a long poem in rhyme about him, and I read it to him on the phone, and he said, stay right there. And he came to my house and said, read that to me again. If I seem obsessed with Dylan, I am. I figure that by the time we're in our 90s, we'll reunite.
You'll reunite again. You got to do it once every decade. But with Dylan, and that That's incredible that you guys had this, on again, off again romance, and friendship. But with him, you met a lot of people. You met George Harrison.
Yeah, with Dylan.
Yeah, what was that like?
Oh my God. Apple Jam that George did was what I used when I danced for George Roy Hill for this thing. I brought my tape recorder and I said, "You don't mind if I dance for you?" He said, "No, no." So I put on Apple Jam by George Harrison and I took off my dress and I had an eeny weeny bikini and I ended up sitting on George Roy Hill's lap. And I got the part, I remember George Roy Hill, he had big eyes, big eyes. And his eyes just popped out when I did this, what's the word I want? It means you don't expect it. Strip.
What's the word?
Shocked, surprised,
Shocked, surprise.
taken off guard.
Yeah.
Taken off guard. Yeah.
Shocking surprise.
Shocking. Yeah. Yeah. Was Gotta Save Somebody your favorite Dylan song?
Say it again?
Gotta Save Somebody. Was that your favorite Dylan song?
No, it was one of them. I think Lay Lay,
Lay. Yeah.
because while I was dating him, I would be off stage watching him perform, and he would sing Lay Lay, and I would say, "You mind looking over at me?"
Well, he must have written a couple of songs with you in mind.
I don't know. He had one called Sally, and I never really asked him if it was me or if it was because Sally's an old primitive. It's a name out of the the early folk scene or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he does have a song, Sally. I don't know, but I remember when he did "Shot of Love," the album. We were dating, so.
Yeah, incredible though at the time. So, dating. Would you go to restaurants? Would you go out to
No,
Hollywood?
he's not.
Would you
He's
just
not.
hang at
He
home
never
and-
wanted to be public. I'm the one that went public with.
with the whole romance.
Yeah, but no, it was all very intimate. I was singing it on him all day yesterday. Oh, I know. Yeah, I sent him a Valentine's Day shout out on Wednesday. Yeah,
So he would just be.
my love of my
You'd be
life.
sitting around. He'd be playing his guitar, singing Bob Dylan
Yeah.
songs to you, of course.
Yeah.
And was it mostly that he would sing his songs, or would he sing others?
No, I don't remember him singing others to me.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a place called Shangri-La in Malibu, and the band and him would rehearse and play there. I remember one time going to see the band and him, and somehow we ended up making love on the beach in Malibu in a sleeping bag or something.
Somehow, of course, you would have figured it. I mean, look, you and Bob had this incredible relationship, but you also had a lot of you dated a lot.
Yeah.
You were doing the Hollywood thing. You were running around. You were free-spirited. You always have been.
Right.
But yet you continuously focused on your career, continuously focused on what you've wanted to do. It's hard for people, especially nowadays. What advice can you give actors and actresses coming up now?
Don't take no for an answer.
Don't take no for an answer.
Make a video of yourself if no one else has done it.
Mm-hmm.
Self promote. I always self promoted, didn't I?
You did.
If
You
I
still
did a
do.
play in LA, I would take out a column in the Hollywood Reporter and Variety, put the reviews,
Mm-hmm.
and people would come. I strongly believe in PR. My mom was a journalist. I'm the daughter of a journalist. I just think that if you wait for someone else to do it, it's a long wait. But if you do it yourself, people will appreciate your producing yourself. You're
You're your old tool.
your own best friend.
Yeah, you're old. And nowadays with the social media and everything, anybody could do it. I mean, anybody could
Anybody
shoot a
can do it.
movie. They could just take and grab a cell phone
Right.
and shoot a movie. Just know
On
that.
YouTube.
Yeah, just know if you're doing it, do it right. Don't put up, something.
There's a great picture of public domain that y'all, the audience should check out. There's me. Bob Dylan is kind of holding my head because I'm sitting down. He's standing up behind me, and De Niro is next to him, and Leni Kazan, and a woman named Martine Getty, J. Paul Getty Jr. is one. And and we're all in this picture that was in Rolling Stone, and it's in public domain now. I strongly suggest you check it out.
We'll definitely we'll show that. Absolutely. That sounds great. That's really great. You've worked on so much with so many people. I mean, let's just go over a couple of the television shows that you've worked on. Beretta.
Beretta with Robert Lake. Yeah, Robert became a friend. I remember one time he came to a party I gave at my house, and he showed up with a loaded gun. I thought, oh my God, only Robert Blake would show up with a loaded gun. But he took it out to show me and my friends. I thought, oh my God, Robert, what are you expecting?
That's funny.
But he was great with me. He put me on Bread, I think, a couple of times.
Yeah,
Joe D'Augusta.
Yeah.
Joe D'Augusta cast me on that. And he was a famous casting director back in the day. And
I did Kojak.
I did Kojak with Telly Savalas 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
And he had a crush on me, and he would invite me up to his suite at the Universal Hotel and treat me like a queen. And, you know, I never made it with him, but he would, you know, flirt with me all the time. And so I had a little Kojak career. And back then, I did the Sting, and then I got, not under contract because they weren't doing that anymore, but every Universal television show I was somehow I was on.
Yeah, because you did a lot. You did a lot. You did The Rookie, you did Charlie Angels, you did Lou Brand, Falcon Crest, The Nanny. You did Roseanne for a while.
I did Roseanne, Barbara Healy. And if you remember, your audience, I slapped Johnny Galecki in the face. Then I kicked him out of the house. My fans wrote me and said, oh, that was so heartbreaking when you hit him in the face and then he cried. But that was great working with Roseanne. She really liked me. We went shopping together. She dyed her hair blonde. She wanted to look like me. First, Roseanne, if that's not right, I apologize. But I remember she dyed her hair blonde shortly after we were hanging out. And we would go get clothes together. And she really liked me. I want to commend Roseanne because I did some stand-up comedy for a while. And she was in the audience, and I was I was the producer, and I was introducing Tom Arnold. They were married, and Roseanne saw me, and that's how she put me in the show. And then we did a movie together called The Woman Who Loved Elvis, and we went to the city that Tom Arnold was born and raised in, and we shot this, and Bill Bixby directed it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yes, he died too young.
That's for sure. So many have. Tell us about Sallywood.
Sallywood is a film that hasn't come out yet. It's fiction and it's biography. It's everything all at once. And a guy named Zach Ruber made this film based on his years being my assistant. And so it's about me, Sally, and my assistant. And so, like I said, a lot of it really happened, and a lot of it is exaggerated and fictionalized. And it's going to premiere in Florida April 10th or something, and then it'll make its way here. But I'm very proud of it. I'll let everybody know when it's coming out. But it's very touching. It's a very touching movie about my life and my career.
It's nice. It's nice when people think about you and write a role for you directly, and especially naming the picture basically after you, Sallywood.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be exciting. And you've also got something else. You did a movie in 2005, which was called Adam and Steve. Correct? I'm correct on that. Adam and Steve, and you're doing a sequel to that now, 20 years later. How did that come about?
Well, Craig Chester, the Adam and the producer, called me maybe a month ago and said, you want to do the sequel with us? We're going to film in the fall. I said, sure. I think I played 2 roles in it somehow. I played the what do you call it? The leader of the Cocaine Anonymous. I don't do cocaine. And then I played the minister who marries Adam to Steve. So I don't know how that works where I play 2 roles, but anyway, I'll do that coming up this fall. And there's another movie I'm doing. I can't think of the name of it. But I do want to mention, did you look up the name of the film that's going to be on AMC on the 20th?
Yeah, that's Skeletons in the Closet.
Skeletons in the Closet.
That's February 20th.
20th on AMC. Right, AMC?
Yes, AMC.
And I starred with Terrence Howard and Cuba Gooding Jr. I have a 3-star billing.
Wow, that's great though. And what a cast.
Yeah. I cry. I have a really emotional scene. Hopefully it'll touch your hearts.
Look, you've gone from, I'm sure it will. You have gone from big roles, small roles, in between roles. It doesn't matter. An actor is an actor, and you take a role if it fits you. If if you're offered something and it's what you want to do, you take it and you.
Well, if the small role is too small, I ask for a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get it most of the time.
And if it's a big role, sometimes I'll work for next to no money, as long as it's going to showcase my full acting talent.
Yeah. When did you become Screen Actors Guild?
Oh, when I was young, like 19 or something. Shelley Winters took me by the hand and took me to each of the unions, all 3 Equity SAG after. If you became a member of Equity, you could buy your way into SAG. And after.
Right. After 2.
Yeah, after was separate back then. And so I was doing plays with her, and she took me by the hand. I became a member of Equity. And then I put down my $250 or something, very little money back then,
Definitely.
and paid a member of SAG. And I don't think you could do that now. I don't know.
No. I mean, it's different. I mean, you could still, I think you can pay in, but I don't know. Look, all the rules have just changed after the strike, so I don't want to get too far into it because I'm not really sure what SAG does or doesn't do anymore. I'm a member as well. I got mine. I was AFTRA, and I believe at the time I was doing the movie Masters of the Universe, and I bought in and I was also doing soap opera work, so I bought in, I think it cost...
As an actor or producer?
As an actor. I think I bought into SAG for about $300 at the
Really?
time, and, now it's at least, I think it's I don't know the exact number, but I know it's well over $2,000, maybe even $3,000. About $3,000 you get in.
Really?
Yeah.
And what young actor can afford that?
Not a lot. But they either they pay in and what have you, or they get very lucky. Maybe a production will buy them in. But it's
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember teaching Sandy Bullock when she was an unknown.
She's great.
She's great.
Yeah.
She said to me, "You can tell anybody and everybody in the world that you were the best teacher I ever had." She suggested her to Roger Corman.
Mm-hmm.
They did Working Girl or something. And I suggested her to a director named Dan Adams, and he did her first movie. I think it was called The Legend Incorporated or something.
Mm-hmm.
I really rooted for her. Barbara Miller, who may not be alive, I'm not sure, was head of casting for Warner Brothers, and she called me and she said, "I'm looking at this resume, and your name is all down her page, producing and directing her, teaching her." And I said, "Hire her. She's going to be a big star." And Barbara did. And I think that was the series she did when she was young.
Yeah.
I told Sandra she was going to be a big star. No one had ever really told her that. I'm very good that way. My mother, the editor of Life, used to put people on the cover, make stars out of them, media stars. Mm-hmm. And I used to tell people, you're good. They would come back for more De Niro. I told him in 1967, and he would call me every day. "Will you tell me again what you think about my acting?" Because he was so shy,
Yeah. What a life though. What a life you've lived, and you say that you kind of knew this about Sandra and De Niro and others, but I think a lot of that also has to, maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, have to do with your spiritual beliefs and your studying and all that. I mean, you're a painter, a poet, an acting coach, a yoga, a master.
I was going to have you come up to my apartment today to see my paintings.
I've seen it.
Oh, you have?
I've seen it, yeah, because I don't know if you recall.
That's right, you came to my
what
house.
was it? What was the name of the movie? Max. Magic Max.
That's right. You came over with.
I came over. I brought the script to you.
Yeah.
Your place is phenomenal. I mean, there's not a space on the wall that anybody could put anything.
Yeah,
all your
good
paintings, gorgeous paintings, and not only from you but other people. You have photos of you and De Niro on the wall. You have photos of all the people that you've worked with along the way. Your whole floor. I hope you don't mind me telling everybody. You've got beautiful rugs and carpets and this and that. Like I said, I don't think there's a space for, even if I gave you and I'll give you a painting. I don't think there's a space to put it. But
You
somehow,
can paint it yourself?
well, I'll do it for you. But I don't think there's I actually did paint. I don't know. It's here somewhere. Yeah, it's up there. But cameras won't see it. Actually, there,
yeah.
Sally, you
Cool.
could see that one, and maybe Robert will
very
get a
nice.
shot later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
that's
nice.
I did that back a long time ago, obviously. But
Cool.
so I paint a little bit. But you have also that collage
Yeah, I like doing collage.
with people you work with along the way. All kinds
And
of people.
narrative and Jesus.
Yeah,
I did that one you're mentioning in 1966 when I was pronounced dead, and I did it to rehabilitate myself. And it took me a month to finally finish it. But every day I would add something else to the collage.
Love it. Well, we're glad you're still with us. I mean, and you've got a long career ahead. You know that.
Yeah.
You're also such a lover of, just a lover of love. You're a big supporter of love, empathy, kindness, people coming together, spirituality. I think it's wonderful.
I'm
Can
an
you tell us a
ordained
little?
minister.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
an ordained minister as well. Can you
Reverend
tell us
Sally
about that?
Kirkland, 50 years.
50 years.
Mm-hmm.
50 years. And still to this day, because I've been on your station, and if anyone could find you on Facebook. I think it's almost every week.
Oh, I do healthylife.net
Yeah,
every
yeah.
Monday,
Okay.
10 to 11.
What is it again?
Tune into
Healthylife.net. Okay.
Yeah, I interview people. A woman named Linda McKenzie has been producing me 20 years on that show.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to keep out there even when I'm not acting. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people have done the show with me.
But like I told you earlier, people tune in because they love hearing you and they love hearing your stories. And you recognize each and every person. I told you that.
Yeah.
You recognize each and every person, and it's heartwarming for us. I tune in, and you'll see me, and you'll go, "Hey, there's Jeff," and then you usually tell the story about Magic Max.
Right.
And, Jeff and I did Magic Max together, or this or that, or what have you.
Who is the
It's
star
just
of Magic
wonderful.
Max?
Who was the star of Magic Max? I can't remember. That was so many years ago. What stories? Let me ask you this. What's one of your favorite jobs that you ever had, acting jobs,
Other than Anna.
other than that?
The Sting. Because I had such a crush on Robert Redford, and he recognized me. He put in a word for me. And did I tell this story of when I was doing the shimmy with the choreographer? He came over to me and he looked out at the ground and he said, "Where'd you learn how to do that?" No, I already told us.
No. I read it though. Go ahead and
Where'd
tell
you
it.
learn how to do that? And I said, "Well, I was a go-go dancer when I was younger, and I learned how to shimmy." And he just shook his head and smiled. And I love Robert. I love Robert Redford.
And he said you did that so well, something like that.
Yeah, he said, "Where did you learn how to do that? That's amazing."
Yeah.
And I said, "I had a career as a go-go dancer."
When you did Anna, and we must say also Sidney Pollack directed you in that.
No, you're Bagayevich.
Oh, York MacGyver. Okay,
Poland.
but Sidney Pollack did direct
The way we
something.
work.
Oh, the way we were. That's right. Okay, my
He was
mistake.
up on a crane
Uh-huh.
in the streets of New York, filming Barbara and me walking down the streets, and we bumped into each other, and my earring or her earring fell off. You're a klutz, just like me. But that scene never made it into The Way We Were. But the scene where we're telephone operators and we're passing out pamphlets and outside the Plaza Hotel made it into The Way We Were. In case you're wondering who I was in The Way We Were, because it wasn't a huge part. It was Pony Dunbar, her friend, who was we were kind of socialists, passing out these pamphlets. I love working with Barbara Streisand. Barbara, wherever you are, I love you. And you married James Brolin, my co-star from, oh, come on, Sally. Can't remember the name of it.
We'll find out.
James Brolin, myself, and Chris Christopherson. Cheating Hearts.
And Cheating Hearts. You did
That
it.
produced.
Good for you. Wow. Well, you produced a lot.
Yeah, I produced, in one way or another, 42 films.
42 films.
Sometimes I would do it just to get it made.
Yeah.
It's not that I raised money. I would just get the actors in there and somehow get it made.
Mm-hmm. when you do a film like and you win all these accolades, the Golden Globe and the Oscar nomination, which you lost to Cher for Moonstruck.
And Meryl was up that year.
Meryl was
Glenn
up that.
Close,
Yeah, Glenn Close. What an amazing group of ladies. I mean, all phenomenal actresses. But when you do that and you come off of that, and you're coming off of the world is loving you. You're getting all kinds of media attention for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then it stops.
Well, it doesn't really stop because of the media attention, you get a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really great to get nominated because everybody, like you said, takes notice. Maybe they didn't know who I was before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people treated me like I was an overnight success, and I say, well, I've been acting 25 years.
That goes back to that. But okay, so it doesn't completely stop. I was talking about when someone gets married, has a wedding, and all this hoopla, and then all of a sudden it stops. In the acting world, so you get that, you get the accolades, you get other roles from it, you get some other good roles. You pinch yourself a few times, as I've mentioned, throughout. That's what we all do in this industry sometimes when we say, wow, we did that, I did that, what have you. But you have to just keep going on. You have to keep going on. You don't know what's next. I mean, an award is what an honor it is. But
Feather in your hat.
A feather in your hat, but you don't know when the next one's going to come. Mm-hmm. If the next one's going to come. Do you?
Oh, I always knew the next one would come.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you were nominated again for another... The Haunted.
Not for the Oscar, for the Golden Globe. Maybe I won. Funny thing. I don't know. Maybe I won.
I don't know if you...
I don't know.
Well, you won just being nominated.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
The Haunted is a film I'd like your audience to check out. I think you can find it on YouTube or something. It's some of my best work. Mm-hmm. Very emotional. Mm-hmm. And I get to be spiritual in it. Mm-hmm. And pray and all that.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite thing about being an actress?
To show my heart and soul, and hopefully touch someone's heart and soul. Mm-hmm. Like Shelley Winters said, make them laugh when they think they're going to cry, make them cry when they think they're going to laugh. I think at a very young age, I was very touched by actors. Ingrid Bergman. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be like Ingrid Bergman. She touched my soul. When she did St. Joan. Did you ever see St. Joan with Ingrid Bergman?
No, I can't say I did.
St. Joan, St. Joan, there aren't too many female saints. So I grew up loving St. Joan because she was a woman. And I ended up playing her on stage when I met her. Ingrid Bergman, Katharine Hepburn. And then in later years, Shirley MacLaine became a friend of mine. My publicist, Dale Wilson, handled her for 35 years, and so he put us together.
Unbelievable. Are you, let me ask you this. Is there anybody that you haven't worked with yet who is still acting that you would like to work with?
Well, I acted with Nero on stage, but I like to act with him in a movie.
So, Robert, if you're listening,
you got to remember your old pal Sally. I heard from Martin Scorsese that he doesn't like to hire his ex-girlfriends, something like that. Let's put it this way: Bobby would put me up for all of his films, but then Scorsese would hire somebody else. But Bobby would put me up against, like, a Sandra Bernhardt was up for King of Comedy. Bobby had put me up for. And Scorsese one day sat me down. He said, "Sally, you're a minister, and I'm nervous around you because I still do cocaine." He didn't say that. And he said, "But I have to tell you, you were a girlfriend of Bobby's in Zinero. I'm hesitant about casting you with him because, something about he doesn't want to bring his life into this." Now, if that didn't happen, Marty and Bobby, I apologize, but that's sort of the gist of what went down in my conversation.
Yeah. We get it. It's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Some of it's make believe.
Yeah. But Bobby was an important chapter in my life, and I really was. I remember doing a play called The Woob Tube with Bobby, not the whole play, but sections of it, at the Actors Studio, and we put our kids down the incinerator.
Jeez.
It was written by a very Mike Gazzo, I think, wrote it. Very famous Mike Gazzo. He wrote Stand at Chilly Winters, became a star on Broadway. Tony Faziosa, Shelley Winters.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I didn't say that.
No, well, even if you did, I mean, this, you know.
What the fuck?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, say it one more time. Say it one.
What the fuck?
Can I see it in a Polish accent?
What the fuck? What the fuck?
How about a German accent?
Well, it's the same.
Oh, it is.
You make the WV.
Okay.
But, was you want?
Okay. How about a Yiddish accent?
Was you want?
What do you miss most about the early years that when you started out?
Miss.
Yeah, is there anything that you look back on and go, "Gosh, I wish"?
I miss all the great lovers I had. Huh. I miss Rip. Rip died.
Rip Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was really important in my life.
Mm-hmm.
We did Richard III together. I played Lady Anne. We did Orpheus Ascending together. I played Charles Picture. He did his Thou. We were stellar together. I remember Arthur Penn moderating at the studio. He was just blown away. So I'd never seen, it wasn't the whole play, but just scenes for Richard III. I've never seen it done so well. I remember Rip lifted me up on my clothes, and I spit in his face. That was actually in the play, and he lifted me up. He was great at anger. You know, we started in what we called Coming Apart, which was the first underground film that sort of made it overground.
Yeah.
Back in the day, 1969, and back in Chicago, Ebert and Siskel championed it. And you didn't know whether it was pornography or art. And so I did a whole, what do you call it? There were people on a panel to discuss the movie, and I was there, and they finally said it was art. But I was nude all through the film, of course. And I guess I liked my body because I couldn't stop taking my clothes off. Lee Strasberg would do private moments, and Sally would immediately take her clothes off. Everybody in the studio knew that I was famous for taking my clothes off. Yeah. So it was kind of my thing.
Yeah, that was your thing. Yeah, but you know, look, you were so loved then. You're so loved now. Everybody loves you. We love having you. I love having you.
Is it the end?
This? I mean, that's close enough, but I'm not really sure. There's so much. Anything you want to add? Anything you want to talk about?
When I was pronounced dead, I had a life after life experience with Jesus. And it was so ecstatic and so blissful. And I remember saying, I want to stay here. And Jesus said, no, you got to go back and tell your friends about the other side. No, I want to stay here with you. You know, it's important not to be selfish. He wants to go back and tell your friends, this really happened. And so I did, and I am. It's really a gift to have a life after life experience. You're never afraid to die from that point on, you know, if you ever were. So I'm not afraid to die because I've been the Reverend Sally Kirkland since 1973, and I just know I'm going home to God. And so everything in my life now is a preparation for that. Hopefully it's living the love. We're not talking about it. But living love. I love Chet Follman and his producers, Robert and so on.
Yeah, not young.
Yeah, we love you too. We love you. Can you talk just a few minutes about John Roger?
John Roger is a man I met in 1973 who became my spiritual teacher for 50 years, and he was alive until he passed in 2014. And he's very close to Jesus in that lifetime. He was John the Beloved. And when I was pronounced dead, anyway, years later, I wrote him a letter, and I said, did you have anything to do with me still being alive, that he said, yeah, Jesus said, you've got to bring Sally home to God. And he, of course, was clairvoyant and a master. And the minute I saw him speak, I passed out on the floor. And he was my teacher, like I said, for 50 years. So I had a glorious spiritual life apart from my acting life. So there are many initiations: the causal, which is the emotional, the mental, all my karma with my emotions, my mind, the etheric, the imagination, and then soul initiation. And then once you have the soul initiation, in theory, you've completed your karma this lifetime. But unless you create negative karma, then you have to go through that. But it was all about going home to God this lifetime was John Roger, not having to re-embody and go through him and pain ever again.
Amazing. Amazing. Sally, thank you so much for rolling with Olin. This has been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
You're so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love your support for me.
Absolutely. And it'll continue. And I'd love to have you on again.
I'd love to be on again, chapter 2.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, don't forget, if you show this to anyone between now and the 20th AMC, what's it called?
It is, what's it called?
Spider.
No, I'll tell you what it's called. It is called in my notes, Skeletons in the Closet.
Skeletons in the Closet.
Skeletons in the Closet.
With Terrence Howard, Cuba Gooding, and Sally Kirkland.
It's just with Sally Kirkland in my book.
Oh, thank you, honey. God bless you. Okay.
Really appreciate it.
We say in Hindu, Baruch Beshan, which means the blessings already are.
Baruch
Beshan.
Bashem.
It's sort of Yiddish, too.
Love it. Love it. Love it. After you got the nomination for Anna, how were you treated by the industry?
Very differently. It was like I won in many ways. It's tremendous respect and people campaigning for me. I remember Norman Mailer gave me a quote, and Rex Reed said, Sally devours Anna like raw steak and emerges a major star. And I had a back page in Variety. It cost me $7,000, but I had someone pay for it. I had all these quotes. And to answer the question, I was treated like gold. It really does change your life forever.
Yeah.
And then winning the Golden Globe and the Independent Spirit Award and the LA Film Critics Award, I was very grateful that finally, at the age of 44, I was recognized. Not that I hadn't worked for 25 years, but they recognized my true talent. They being critics, the fans,
The public.
public.
Yeah. You earned it.
Oh, thank
You earned it, but also, just, yeah, I mean, great to hear that. You were really known for your red carpet experiences. Going out here, there, whatever. Can you talk about that? Because that's an incredible
Well, a lot of it has to do with my mother being the fashion editor of Vogue and Life, and designers would give me clothes for my red carpet appearances. I loved to dress up, like every famous movie star I adored. And I felt as a minister that I was blessing the event that I would show up at. And a lot of times I bring John Roger as my date. And I say, I have John Roger here, the spiritual director, the movement of spiritual inner awareness, and he's going to bless your opening or your event. And it was sort of a thing I did. George Pinocchio would say that here's Sally to bless the event,
George Pinocchio from ABC.
From
7
ABC.
here in Los
He
Angeles.
championed me for quite a while. And I think it was me just wanting to be involved all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't starring in a film, I was going to talk about it on the red carpet,
Yeah. So you were going from red carpet to red carpet. Do you suggest actresses now who are not known do that?
Yeah, to get your face seen, get your name known. I'm a strong believer in self-promotion. And nowadays you can, make videos of yourself and put them on YouTube. And don't wait for somebody. Don't wait. I used to always tell people, don't wait for the phone to ring. Just go do it.
Yeah. I always say showbiz is 90% business, 10% show.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because it is a business. Everybody's got to work themselves through it somehow.
Yeah.
Self-promotion is huge.
Self-promotion. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people helped me. John Springer, famous publicist for Marilyn Monroe, Liz Taylor. He was my publicist in New York. Dale Olson, who was 35 years with Shirley MacLaine, helped me out here. So I can't say that I was alone.
Yeah.
I always had great publicists.
Sally, I don't think there's one famous person you have not mentioned in this conversation. What do you guys think? Incredible, right? Incredible. What a story. What a life story. But in the early days, go back to the the 70s, the equipment was so different than it is nowadays. The crew, the way things worked, the amount of crew members. What do you remember back then, and comparing it to then?
But I was young, Jeff. I was pretty young in my 20s when I did this thing and the way you were and all that. So I got to have the big crews fairly early on. But like I said, Andy Warhol put me in front of one camera and said, "Don't move." And of course I moved and I cried. But that was my first camera, I think, was Andy. I think I told you that, he showed me his bullet.
Yeah.
And he had changed a great deal after he was shot. He became more spiritual. But
Yeah. But the equipment has changed over the years. I know.
Yeah.
From the cameras to the video village to what have you. I mean, it stays a little bit of the same, but it has changed, and I'm sure you've seen some of it changing.
Yeah.
And you probably have walked on sets over the the last 20 years and said, "Oh my God, what is?"
I like it when Robert did it, when they had a camera here and a camera here.
Yeah.
I like all that. It saves time, right? You don't have to just turn around. You just got it all. And so they're doing it.
Robert's doing it.
Robert's doing it.
Yeah. Like I said, he's the techie.
Yeah.
Techie guy.
Techie.
I can't do anything about that, but we do this for I don't know what I'm doing, but for Robert, for Swan, but most of all for Sally. She's reserved.